You know what's better than Batman? Batman in the snow. Gotham City during the winter time, or more specifically during Christmas, is peak. I love Batman on a normal day, but there's something about Gotham during the holiday season that just amplifies whatever story is going on. Probably the best example of this is Batman Arkham Origins. I loved the atmosphere of this game, and it's probably a big reason why I was so hooked on this game compared to the other Arkham games I've tried. If I were to summarize what this setting, Christmas Eve in the middle of a bad snowstorm, does for the story, it's that it contrasts so much of normal Gotham City, thus creating a unique atmosphere. First off, quite simply, the color contrast. Gotham City is usually depicted as this dark and dreary place. The bright white snow cuts right through that darkness, and can be quite striking as a result. This also forces a change in the lighting, with the snow reflecting any lights in the city. Gone are the many deep dark shadows of Gotham, peeled back by a soft glow that reveals Gotham's true face even in the dead of night. For me, it's just eerie. Second, the setting of a bad snowstorm is a pretty natural way of creating end-of-the-world apocalypse vibes without actually having an apocalypse. What I mean by that is, during the snowstorm, the normally bustling streets of Gotham are now mostly empty. Normal people are safe inside staying warm, leaving Gotham seemingly barren. And as a result, what this means is that anyone you encounter on the outside is not to be underestimated. If they've chosen to face the cold and the dangers of the storm, they're either incredibly brave, they're someone with a plan for facing the elements, or they're desperate, which makes them even more dangerous. For lack of a better way of putting this, the weaker people stay inside while the strong and brave go out, so anyone you run into is not to be messed with. What this also adds is a very strong feeling of isolation. Batman, more than ever, is on his own. This isn't the same as other citywide threats like the blackout in The Dark Knight Returns. A blackout causes chaos. A snowstorm causes isolation. With roads blanketed in snow and unsafe flying conditions, police or any other help isn't coming quickly. No quick trips to the Batcave, you have what you have, and that's it. I mean, with Batman being Batman, he probably has some contingency plans for this sort of thing, but even then, you're still limited. If Batman is trapped or severely injured, no one is coming, and that makes these already life-threatening situations even more perilous. The last main contrast this setting brings comes with the Christmas holiday. As I said, Gotham is dreary. A lot of Batman stories, especially more modern ones, are very dark. There isn't much joy to be had in Gotham. But in spite of that, they still try. They decorate, they put up lights, they try to bring just a little joy to this otherwise depressing place. But instead, in these stories, it adds another level of eeriness. These symbols of festive cheer and happiness are now tainted by the murders, the assaults, the robberies, or whatever dark events the writers have in store for us. It's like the horror movie trope of dolls and other toys being possessed. The light that these things once brought has now been replaced with darkness. They're hollow and it's just sad. But contrast isn't the only thing this setting brings. The more obvious difference is the change in the weather conditions and the dangers that come along with it. It makes survival even more difficult, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a literal force of nature that you have to fight on top of everything else. With the cold, the risk of frostbite and hypothermia is always present in the back of your mind. Maybe not always an active threat, but a threat nonetheless. And then there's the physical snow and ice. The Dark Knight Rises shows us exactly how dangerous something as simple as ice can be. Never mind the fact that anything and everything can be slick with it, and slipping and falling is a possibility at any moment. It even affects things like Batman's ability to stealth. Compared to rain, a heavy snowfall can actually be pretty quiet. Combined with the deserted streets, it can make parts of Gotham eerily silent. Sure, there could be wind, but even then, it's not guaranteed to cover the sound of snow crunching or ice cracking under Batman's boots. Or when he perches on something above, his weight could knock snow and ice off whatever he's on, giving away his presence. It severely debilitates one of Batman's greatest skills. These last 2 points, while maybe not the most impactful, still add to the overall package. In my opinion, fire and explosions feel even more powerful in this setting. It might not make logical sense because, well, things can blow up at any point, but there's this subconscious idea in my head that any fire burning in this damp, cold environment must therefore be stronger than the cold. The more severe the snowstorm, the more powerful any active flame is, because it has that much more to overcome. We also get that same sharp contrast that we get from the bright snow against Gotham's darkness. Furthermore, I'd argue we don't get this same kind of contrast from fire and explosions in Gotham normally because, although the light from the flames does contrast the literal darkness, it's instead perceived as part of the metaphorical darkness in Gotham. The chaos, the destruction, the crime, it's all part of it. This different setting, however, brings out that different component. And last but not least, should the writers choose, a snowy setting can have with it an element of the fear of the unknown. In a patch of seemingly undisturbed snow, you don't know what could be under it. There could be a trap, a hole, or some other threat. It requires even more caution simply traversing the city, and if the storm is dense enough, you could introduce the challenge of limited visibility. It could inhibit Batman's ability to properly scout a location from afar, meaning he's walking into a potentially dangerous situation partially or completely blind. Even walking down the street, enemies could catch you by surprise as they seemingly appear out of nowhere. It means not only Batman, but the audience as well is on high alert at all times. There's extra tension and suspense from not fully knowing what he's walking into, and once again, there's nothing you can do about it because it's a force of nature. While other heroes could be in these exact same situations, it doesn't quite hit the same as when it's Batman. Imagine it was someone like Superman. He's the symbol of hope and positivity and lives in the sparkling city of Metropolis. Right there, you've lost a good chunk of that striking contrast I've talked about. His powers would make a lot of these circumstances moot, and therefore the whole thing a lot easier for him. Batman is just a man, at times an arguably superhuman man, but still a man, facing not only the villains, but the elements as well. And I think this setting, more than any other, puts the Caped Crusader in Gotham City at their best.